This podcast contains sensitive content about assault and murder that may be too difficult for some listeners. Hello, and thank you for joining me for No Foul Play, a discussion about missing and murdered Indigenous women. I'm your host, Kerry Weishampel. I'm also a student at Owens Community College, and this podcast is my advocacy project for Honors 101, taught by Professor Jen Hazel. To begin, I'd like to give you a little background on today's subject. The running theme in this semester's course for Honors 101 has been the plight of missing and murdered Indigenous women. In addition to reading Carrie, a memoir of survival on stolen land by Tony Jensen, we had discussions and, of course, an advocacy project. I chose to do a podcast for my advocacy project because I found I had a lot to say on the subject. The title itself, No Foul Play, stems from a website I came across in a link a fellow student posted under an assignment we had called Faces Of, where we would post a specific case with a face of an Indigenous woman who was missing or murdered. Our profiled case could be an Indigenous woman from anywhere in the world, but this face and the focus of this podcast takes place primarily in Canada, Manitoba specifically. The link I saw was www.cbc.ca/missing and murdered. The missing woman posted in my classmate's assignment is a 28-year-old expectant mother who was not yet showing. Her name is Abigail Andrews. After studying her profile, I glanced down and noticed a box at the bottom of the page that had a photo of a young woman with the word unresolved pasted across it in big letters. Below the image it read, "No foul play found in the deaths of dozens of Indigenous women, but questions remain." This particular face and the link were not part of my assignment that day, but it turned into this one because I believe I have some of those same burning questions that the Canadian Broadcast Company has. Little did I know, as I went down the rabbit hole of no foul play, more questions would emerge. When I followed the link of unresolved cases that were filed as no foul play, my first question was, is this a disproportionate number? There were 34 cases listed as no foul play. I asked myself, is it suspicious that dozens of deaths are not being investigated further? Is that an unusually high number? I know the answer is yes, because in just one semester, I've learned how little attention crimes against Indigenous women get. We know for a fact Indigenous women are more likely to be victims of homicide than non-Indigenous women. For example, a 2016 study by the National Institute of Justice found that more than 4 in 5 American Indian and Alaskan Native women, 84.3%, have experienced violence in their lifetime, including 56.1% who have experienced sexual violence. Maybe a year ago, even 6 months ago, I might have brushed right by cases that law enforcement has deemed not suspicious. I know better now, and I feel obligated to share that knowledge. Instead of dismissing 34 deaths of Indigenous women listed as no foul play, I became instantly suspicious of these cases. That's a lot of deaths of mostly healthy young women for none of them to be called murder. I needed to know more. I wanted details. Many of the details about those 34 cases are highlighted on the CBC website regarding the Manitoba unresolved cases. In their analysis, the CBC noted the following. 10 of those no foul play deaths had unexplained injuries, though officials maintained those injuries did not contribute to the deaths. 17 were involved in domestic and family violence, where families insisted there was a clear suspect. 6 were found nude or partially clothed in suspicious or anomalous circumstances. In 31 of the cases, a person of interest was identified at some stage either by police or family members, but ultimately, no one was judged responsible for the death. In 5 of the cases, coroners or inquest findings and police determinations appear to be in conflict with each other. In 25 of the 34 cases, families say they felt racism and assumptions about the women and their lifestyles hampered the investigation. One of the 34 cases that you can find in detail on the CBC website is 28-year-old Tana Hill. That is Tanya Hill, who was found dead in her Toronto apartment after a party. In spite of the fact that Tana's hair was found embedded in the wall, there was blood on the floor and blood on a phone cord, her body showed signs of trauma, and her boyfriend went to the police station immediately, appearing to confess, the police listed her death as acute alcohol poisoning. I mentioned my classmate's post in our Faces of assignment, but here is where my own post for that assignment becomes relevant. I too found that often Indigenous people have to do their own investigating when a loved one goes missing. For my Faces of case profile, I chose a woman named Mona Lisa Two Eagle. In 1979, on a cold wintry morning in Rosebud, South Dakota, Mona Lisa Two Eagle of the Sioux, a beautiful young woman in her early 20s, got into a red and white truck with two men and disappeared. Her 12-year-old brother was the only witness. He saw her get into the truck. The police didn't do much, so the family set out to find her themselves. 2 weeks later, Mona Lisa Two Eagle's father and brother found her, not far from home, frozen in a pasture, beaten to death and half nude. Her case is not listed as no foul play, but her case sparked little interest, and her killers were never found. Her case wasn't even mentioned online until 2016. Many Americans know the name Gabby Petito. Few know Mona Lisa Two Eagle or Abigail Andrews. That is not to take away from the tragic loss of Gabby Petito, but it does shine a light on media bias. In my attempt to get more answers about Mona Lisa, I was not able to get anyone to call me back regarding her case. In fact, when I attempted to call the lead investigator, Savannah Peterson, I called the number on the Bureau of Indian Affairs website, and I got this. That sound was accompanied by a message on the screen that read, "Invalid number." They also have a tip line on that same Bureau of Indian Affairs website. So no luck there, but with a little internet digging, I did find Mona Lisa's 12-year-old brother, now in his 50s, whose name I will omit because he seems like a private fellow. We spoke briefly on social media. I expressed my sorrow about his loss and told him about my podcast project. I had a feeling this man, who was not of many words, wouldn't speak much to me. Why should he? I'm a stranger and I'm digging into something painful and personal. But I couldn't help but ask him a question that I couldn't get off of my mind. I said, "I noticed even now Rosebud, South Dakota seems very remote. It seems odd that a random truck with two unknown men would just be driving through and Mona Lisa would go with them." He sent me his last correspondence. No, I know these men. Once again, we see even when Indigenous people know the suspects, there is no foul play. I hope in the future I may gain enough trust to get more answers, because even if I can't ask Mona Lisa's family, I'm not done asking. Maybe the investigator assigned to the case, Ms. Peterson, can tell me what, if anything, was preserved from the crime scene, and do they have those men on their radar at all? Often, when anyone asks why the wheels of justice are so rusted and immovable when it comes to Indigenous women, they are told law enforcement doesn't have the manpower or the money to do more investigating. The Bureau of Indian Affairs underscores this issue on their website, where they say, "These investigations remain unsolved, often due to a lack of investigative resources available to identify new information from witness testimony, re-examine new or retained material evidence, as well as reviewing fresh activities of suspects." From what I can tell, they may as well have labeled Mona Lisa Two Eagle's murder no foul play for all the investigation that has been done. And that's just one case. If you have any doubt that there are inequities in the way crimes are given media attention, I direct you to an interesting test you can take at rupressworthy.com. There you can type in information such as your age, race, etc. and find out how much media attention you would garner if you went missing. I'm a white female in her 50s. If I go missing, about 27% of Americans might hear about it. And by now, it's probably no surprise to you that Indigenous women rate low when they go missing, and they go missing a lot. When it comes to Indigenous women, Change is far overdue. These 34 cases of no foul play need a closer look by law enforcement, but also we need to raise awareness about how the Indigenous community has been fighting for justice and proper protection for a long time. Predators need to be sent the message that there will be consequences for crimes against Indigenous women. They have been fish in a barrel for far too long. We can't force our politicians to care about the plight of Indigenous people, but we do know they care about elections. Advocacy means public support. So I propose we continue to ask the tough questions and demand answers. If you'd like to help raise the voice of people who have been silenced and fighting far too long for values that should sell themselves, you can go to the MMIW.org, which is Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women, or head over to planetforward.org/story/7 ways to support Indigenous peoples, with hyphens between 7 ways to support Indigenous peoples. And you will find at least 7 ways that you can get involved and help. Thank you so much for listening. Here's hoping for a better tomorrow with Justice for All.